Yo, we out here, back at it again, man. You know how we roll. I'm the Buff Missionary, and we're here continuing through the book Steps of Christ, Chapter 3. If it's your first time here, go ahead, like, subscribe, share, and hit that bell. You know what I'm saying? Help the message to get out there and help more people to be positively impacted by the words of this book and the things that we get to describe and talk about here. And again, feel free. I see a lot of you commenting down below. I appreciate the dialogue and I appreciate the sharing. And if there's questions, I don't care if you disagree, agree, whatever. Go ahead and give your 2 cents and let's start a dialogue. Let's have a discussion about it. I'm down for that. I'm here for that. But with that said, let's jump right in. If you see your sinfulness, do not wait to make yourself better. This is something that hits on so many different levels, all right? When you talk about practical, something that's applicable, this line right here, if you see your sinfulness, do not wait to make yourself better. This applies to everything. Let's take health, for example. A lot of people say, oh, well, when this happens, then I'll get in shape, or then I'll start running, or you know what it is, then I'll eat healthier, whatever it might be. And the longer we wait, we're just putting ourselves further and further behind in whatever we're ultimately trying to achieve. And the thing is, if we see that there's an issue, why are we waiting to do something with it? Like, being comfortable with an issue is natural. I'll say that first, but it's also unnatural. It doesn't make sense while it does at the same time. We're talking in circles out here, but our nature is to be sinful. Our nature is to, at times, to be lazy even. So it does make sense that we would rather stay in bed longer and forget the alarm, or that we'd rather eat the 2 donuts instead of eating an apple and a banana. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's not what our bodies were designed for. So it's unnatural in that regard. It's both natural and unnatural. It makes sense and it doesn't make sense. And if we're trying to become better, now we have to look at what makes sense within trying to be better. Let me ask you this. How many of you watching this video right now don't want to be better? You want to be worse? Be honest. Hey, I don't believe that everyone will say, yes, I want to be better. But I do believe that more people will say, I want to be better than don't. All right? Now, if that's true, and if that's what your statement is, what are you doing about it? That's the question. That's the real question. So now, going back to what we just mentioned, we look at the things that we do, and we look at the statement of what we want, and does that make sense? If I say that I want to get better at running, I hate to run, but if I say that I want to get better at running, am I running? Am I training my running? Or am I saying, I'll do it later. I'll do it then. I'll do it outside when the weather's like this. It's raining. I'll skip it. Like, how does what we say match with what we do and what we express through the way that we live? All right. So don't wait. If you're in that spot and you know the things that you want to improve on, you look at your life and there's things that you're not happy with, and there's areas where you want to improve. Don't wait for X, Y, and Z to be in place before you start making those moves or exploring the things that you need to start making those moves. Look into it now. When it comes to the spiritual realm, this isn't something we can do on our own. And it's okay, because we have the help necessary to help us to improve. It says, how many there are who think they are not good enough to come to Christ? And do you expect to become better through your own efforts? This is where the message kind of gets twisted. We talked about it a little bit before. Oftentimes, Christianity puts on this kind of presentation like you have to be a certain way to come to Christ, which is completely wrong, and it's not biblical whatsoever. Jesus went out of his way to go and talk to and engage with the people that had lifestyles that were completely outside of what people thought were natural and upstanding. He hung out with the tax collectors. Those are the people that were absolutely hated and looked at as the worst traitors, the worst kind of traitors back in those days. He was hanging out with the prostitutes. He was hanging out with the lowlives and the guys who weren't smart enough to make it into the Pharisee school. He was hanging out with the lepers, the absolute rejects of society. He was hanging out with the demon-possessed people and went to engage with them. The ones who were outcast and far off in different places by themselves because no one wanted to interact with them. Jesus went and purposefully sought out all of these different kinds of people. And he even went into the synagogue. In addition to all of that, he was even there going to engage and interact with the Pharisees, the guys who were at the top of the food chain. He had room and love for them too. All of them needed something, whether they realized it or not. They all needed something, and he was the key to help them get the thing that they needed. It's, you know, we keep it real out here, so I have to say it. I have a really big issue with the way that Christianity and even Adventism at times treats people who are outside of the church and outside of the faith. It's not everybody within the church, and it's not everyone within the belief system, but there's a lot of people out there who have a really bad impression of Christians because of an interaction that they had. There's people, I've heard the stories, and I've talked with a lot of people who go to church because they're curious. They've heard something and they've seen something in someone, and they're like, man, I want more of that. But when they go to the church, they don't feel welcome and they don't come back. It's happened with families. It's happened with young people. It's happened with all kinds of people. It's happened to people who have come in smelling like smoke and alcohol and urine, and they shouldn't have. Like, a hospital is not where you send all the healthy people to hang out. A hospital is where the people who are dying come because they want to try to get better and to be saved. They want to be able to live again. Those are the kinds of people that are welcomed in there quickly because of what they need. And a lot of times there's churches who, there's churches that are not that hospital in the way that Jesus was to the people around him. And that hurts because a lot of these buildings, a lot of these churches are in the middle of cities. They're in the middle of communities. And the people who live in those communities hardly even know that's a church there. They never see the members. They never engage with them. We like to go to church on Saturday or Sunday or whatever day it is for you. Worship on Friday, whatever it might be. But are we engaging with the people around us to show them that there's room there for them too? Or is it just, hey guys, it's time for another meeting at the country club. Let's go hang out, maybe get some lunch, maybe fellowship a little bit, and then let's get out of here. We did our 2 hours, we paid our dues, we're good. I have to laugh at how ridiculous it sounds for me to say that, but it's reality and we know it. We know it. That's what we do. That's what we do. And we can do better. The people out there who need that healing and who need that life, if we believe in Jesus and what he's given to us, we're supposed to be sharing that with them. Not supposed to be holding it to ourselves. I wrote a whole paper on that, my Old Testament theology class. We won't get into that now, but maybe one of these days, all right? But here's the thing. Do you expect to become better through your own efforts? It can't happen. Can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard his spots? Then may you also do good that are accustomed to doing evil. It's not something that we can change on our own. We have this nature, and something outside of us has to influence us in a direction that's better and to do the things that we wish we could do, but that we're always moving against, like what Paul talked about in Romans 7. This is the line right here. There is help for us only in God. We must not wait for stronger persuasions, for better opportunities, or for holier tempers. Again, this is the mistake that's kind of thrown out there that, you know, I thought about it a little bit, but when I feel like this, when I feel right, then I'll know it's time to go. The fact that you had the thought, that's all it takes. That thought, people think when they get that initial thought, oh, okay, well, maybe this is something else. That's God speaking to you in that moment. You don't need anything more than that to know, one, that God is speaking to you and that he's trying to pull you in and that he wants to help you. Because that one thought, that good influence, we talked about it before, that's from him. That's him speaking to you. How many of us has God spoken to with that little impulse and we ignore it and say, I'm not good enough? That's God talking to you. God talking to you right now, telling you that he wants you to come. And I'm sitting there saying, I'm not good enough, while he's talking to me. That's crazy, man. But we do it. It says, we must not wait for better opportunities. Oh, well, when I'm in this position. Oh, well, when I'm doing this. Oh, when I'm doing that. You can be in any situation. You can be in any high. You can be in any low. It does not matter. The best opportunity is when you hear the voice to respond. You don't. God's timing is amazing. And the fact that he's reaching out to us at the time that he does, that speaks volumes in and of itself. So if you hear the call, you don't have to wait. Like, Jesus is calling us because in that moment, we're good enough for him. And we're able to be a part of what he has to offer. We're able to have a relationship with him at that moment. God is not calling us and saying, hey, I want to be in a relationship with you, and I want you to trust me. But in a year from now, after you stop smoking. Hey, I want to let you know right now that, I'm all about love, and I love you, and I want you to be in a relationship with me. But give it a couple more years until you've worked out your issues with your addictions. Yeah, then we can look at starting this relationship. No, God doesn't do that. And again, let's make it practical. Speaking of relationships, have you ever heard of people do... Oh man, this is a rabbit hole right here. We just went down it. But like, imagine you have somebody who says, yeah, girl, I love you and all this kind of stuff, but and I want to be in a relationship with you like forever, you know what I'm saying? But you need to you're gonna have to go to the gym for at least a couple years to get comfortable there before we can actually proceed with this. What do you think the response would be? And what would that say about the person who's making that kind of a request? Hey, to whatever so-and-so guy, hey, I love you, and I just want to let you know that, want you to be in a relationship, whatever, but you're gonna have to get some some of that hair follicle product and get a full head of hair back before I accept you. It can go both ways, and it's so bad to say it, but that's how we treat it sometimes with God. Like he's out here telling us all the good stuff up front, but there's this huge caveat to it. Hey, I got all this stuff for you, but you got to do all this first. Listen, whatever you understand or misunderstand about spirituality, get this and understand this. The gift of Christ, Christ's sacrifice, was not predicated on anything that I've done or anything that you have done. He wasn't waiting to see if we would reach a certain standard before deciding to sacrifice himself for us. That wasn't the point. That wasn't the basis of his offering. He did it because that's who he is. He came here with the world in the condition that it was, to be with us, to live and breathe and walk and exist among us. Not because we were good enough to be lived among and to eat with. No. He sat down and ate with people that everyone else in society, the more influential people in society, thought were worthless to eat with. What does that tell you? It should tell you that Jesus is willing to enter into a relationship with us right now, right here, wherever you are in this moment. You don't have to believe a whole lot of stuff to take that step. You just have to believe that Jesus loves you and that what he said is true, that he wants to have a relationship with you. But a lot of times we put all the other stuff in front of that. That's Christians who have done that, not Jesus. Jesus' own story and experience proves to us that when he says, I love you and I'm going to come down here to have a relationship with you, he does it in that moment. Because I love you, I'm willing to give everything for you. You go and look at the story of Jesus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Read the story in the gospel there. Look at what Jesus talks about before he ultimately goes and dies on the cross. Do you hear him saying, oh, Peter, yeah, you've reached this status, so I can die for you now. It'll be worth it for me to die for you now because you reached the status, you reached the mark. I'm proud of you for reaching that, so I can go die now. Mary Magdalene, you accomplished the things that I had, the thoughts I had really positive outlook for you, and you made it there. You know what? So it's worth it for me to die for you now because you've made it to that standard. There's none of that. And yet, when we present this thing that's supposed to be the gospel, that's how we present it. Like, we have to be worth it to accept the sacrifice. No. Christ already thought we were worth it in whatever condition we are. And he wants us to accept that so we can be changed and brought up into a better experience. But it isn't because we had the better experience and because we were so good that he came to die for us. We got it twisted. Better opportunities. Holier tempers. Yeah, and this is a funny one because it's true. Like people who have issues with, let's say a temper or appetite or whatever it might be. Yeah, I'm going to try to get holier or I'm going to get better before. How are you going to be holy? How are you going to try to get holy enough to be around the one who is holy? Without the one who's holy. You can't. You can't. The thing that we need is in him. We go to him, period. You can't find it from somewhere else but him. And then think that you're going to use it to get to him. That doesn't make any sense, but that's what we do. That's the way that we think when it comes to spiritual things. And it's backwards. We're trying to blow that narrative up. And a lot of people look at this. Let me be clear here, all right? A lot of people look at this that I'm doing here and they think because I'm a Christian, because I'm an Adventist, and because I'm speaking out here, I must be trying to convert all the non-believers. That is not the purpose of what I'm doing. The majority of what I say is actually more to get the attention and raise the awareness of people who believe in Jesus, to see if there's a better way that we can engage in the thing that we say we believe in. That's the real point. Can we get back to the basics of what the gospel and gospel truth is? Can we embrace that? Can we live that? It'll be a much more fulfilling and better experience for us if we can. And by extension, the people who engage with us and who are around us that we get to influence, they're going to have a better experience too. And that's the way it should be. We can do nothing of ourselves. We can do nothing of ourselves. We can't try to, it makes no sense. I'm even stumbling trying to find the words because it's so illogical. We can't try to get good enough to get Christ when he's the one that makes us good. You can't, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. We can do nothing of ourselves. We must come to Christ just as we are. We must come to Christ just as we are. Right now, if you hear his voice, don't harden your heart. Let him in. That's what it is. Jesus comes around knocking on the door of each of our hearts, the impression, the spark in each of our minds, and we have a choice to make. And I'm not saying that if you don't respond to it that, oh, you're going to hell. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is a lot of people look at themselves as so far gone that they misunderstand what that good impulse is that's saying, hey, there's something better for you. And they say, because I'm so far away, nah, that can't be something good. That can't be the thing that I need. And no, I'm so bad that that there's no way that that's going to get me where I need to go. That's exactly what you need. And the fact that Jesus is speaking to you in that moment when you're so far is only reminiscent of the very thing that he did the entire time he was on this planet. The woman caught in adultery. She thought she was so far gone. She thought she was going to get stoned. She thought it was all over. But there was a voice that spoke to her. And she heard it and realized, wait a second, this guy wants to be in a relationship with me. I can accept that. Even though I was just caught in this, I can be in a relationship with God. I can experience the good things that he has to offer, the positive influence that he can be on my life. You had the disciples, fishermen, who were out there doing that because they weren't good enough to make it into the schools. So they have to do the family trade. They don't think they're smart enough to compete with people on that level. And yet they hear the voice. And that voice cuts through and it's like, wait a second. You're asking me to follow you? Why? I'm not the smartest. I'm here right now because I was kind of whack as a student. You calling me? Yeah. Yeah, I'm willing to be in a relationship with you. Yeah, I believe that what you have to offer can make me a better person and be a great influence on my life. I'm down with that. The tax collectors, Jewish people who were hated because they were taxing their own people working for Rome. That person, the absolute outcast in their own community. And they hear that voice. Wait, you see me as a human? You see me as a person? Oh, you want to be in a relationship with me? Yeah, I'm down with that. You mean me as a tax collector right now? Because that's what I'm doing. You're okay with that? Yeah. To the leper, to the woman at the well, to the demon-possessed man, same thing. How far away from any hope did any of these people think that they were? And yet that spark, that voice of inspiration came to them requesting, hey, I'm here and I want to be in a relationship with you because I love you. That spark, no matter how far away they were, no matter how far away we think they are when we look at their lives, Jesus spoke to them and he does the same for us. Let him in. Listen to the voice. Listen to the voice because he's there and he's speaking to you. You know it. You know when you've heard it. I don't. I'm just sitting here behind this camera right now. But my encouragement to you is to realize that it does not matter how far you think you have gone. God's voice can still reach you. Can still reach you. And he's the one that can do it. You don't have to wait to try to get better to go to him because he's already come to us in the states that we are right now. He's already here. So I'll leave it at that. I'm the Buff Missionary. Stay tuned. We got more coming. Like, subscribe, and share. Hit the bell. Yet again, we out here and we out. Peace.